Hello, Marina.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm very well. Looking forward to answering questions. Soon, we're going to do an episode where we're not answering questions. So we are, again, on the lookout for questions from our audience. This time for...
Tom Hanks.
Heard of him?
Yes. Cinema's Tom Hanks.
Yeah. From the movies.
Yeah.
The guy from Big. You know Tom Hanks. Splash.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks. They got him.
He has had a long and amazing career, and we are taking any and all of your questions, and we're going to be talking to him fairly soon.
Yeah.
So get them in, please.
To...
The rest is entertainment at goalhanger.com. That's such a question.
I love the way we always have to look at Joey. We've done this so long.
I'm really...
It is. He's given us the thumbs up. The rest is entertainment at goalhanger.com.
Yeah.
Any question you've ever wanted to ask Tom Hanks, you never, ever let us down with those things. So looking forward to that. But shall we get on with our questions now?
Please do.
Bridget Meyer has a question for you about the roast of Kevin Hart, which is on Netflix. Why are Americans obsessed with roasts? It seems quite an arcane format, but the Kevin Hart roast on Netflix looks like it has been a great success.
It has been a success. The roast format is basically comedians taking the piss out of somebody else.
Yeah.
In this case, also a comedian, but not always. It's funny, we think of them as, I don't know whether it's just that our whole British culture is like this.
Exactly.
So we don't actually feel, we're always taking the piss out of everyone and putting them down. So we don't really feel the need to have a dedicated thing, whereas they're always building everyone up. But every now and then they like to have a sort of...
A safe space. Where they can say the worst things imaginable.
But they really are.
I mean, genuinely shocking.
The Rest is Entertainment is presented by Octopus Energy. Now, celebrity culture has a way of taking very small preferences and promoting them until they require a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, it's like the first time you ever go on a show and you say, oh, could I have some sparkling water? And then like forever say, oh, he has to have sparkling water. It must have sparkling water. It's very, very important. And that's what we call the rider.
The rider, right. In some cases, the rider didn't stay sort of practical for long, you know. It started as a wish list and then it sort of strayed into a kind of a hostage note from the ego. There was a point in J-Lo's ego where she was having like, you know, the white drapes, the white candles, the white, absolutely everything, white flowers, white, you know, sofas, everything. Most people don't actually need a rider in this life of ours, however, but there is something reassuring about not having to specify everything twice
and this
or
is
more.
One of my absolute favourite things about Octopus Energy. If you ring them about anything, your number is recognised and you'll go through to a team who deals with you and have dealt with you before. So yeah, you have a team, they recognise your number and you go through to people who you don't have to explain the same thing to 15 times.
You know, I mean, Kevin Hart is sitting there listening to all of his infidelities be listed.
Yeah.
People like insults comedy.
Yeah.
They really like it. The reason I like them is because I think I just really like jokes, and if people have crafted a beauty, because you know you don't have long. Lots of people are coming to the microphone. You've got a short space of time, so and it's kind of it's a competition. It's like sport, but amongst comedians.
Who can say the worst possible thing here, but it still be funny?
Yes, you really look awful if your thing is cruel. Funnily enough, you actually everyone just thinks or
if it's interesting. There's sort of a if X then Y that. You have to absolutely balance it that if it is incredibly cruel, it has to be incredibly funny. Yeah. It has to be always has to be 1 degree funnier than it is cruel, and then you get away with it.
I agree with you. And there are lots of... So what's nice about it is that there's that sharp writing, there are callbacks, it's only one night. I mean, it's like a million. We live in a kind of reaction gifts thing we've discovered, and people like watching people's reactions to things. Will the target take it? Yeah. That's the thing. It's a sort of the comedy of awkwardness as well as the comedy of insults. You can see what fans do like, and they do like deadly precision, as you say, not cruelty. It used to be always a Comedy Central thing. Comedy Central used to have this thing entirely sewn up. And actually the biggest rating ones and the most memorable kind of cultural moments were Charlie Sheen. That is the number one. Now, that was because he had that extended he has had a number of public meltdowns, but this was the really extended one. It was totally unpredictable. And it was before audiences actually became fragmented in the way that they are now with streaming.
And also as a comic, there are 4 or 5 different angles you can come at.
Yeah,
Charlie
and it's
Sheen
happening
from.
now. It's like a live news story. The Justin Bieber one is a huge kind of is probably the next down from that. There's a Trump one, and then some are not successful, and people it feels off for some reason, and it never quite catches fire. And there's a James Franco and a Bruce Willis one, but they've now sort of gone to Netflix. They don't happen that often, because it's quite a lot.
They did Tom Brady.
The Tom Brady. is immense. It did far better than the Kevin Hart one. Even the Kevin Hart one's great.
Tom Brady in America is so famous.
He's so huge.
Over here, you have to love
He's the sort of, the iconic quarterback.
He's like Beckham for America.
Exactly. And there's something about sports audience. They brought in a sports audience, maybe that's something slightly different. He is huge, as you say. There were really uncomfortable moments in that. I mean, there's a bit when he says, "Don't say that shit again." But that has those elements that, as I say, that, it is unpredictable. You know that Kevin Hart's not really he's going to be able to handle it because that's his job. He's had a million worse things shouted at him, maybe less artfully, but he has. Yeah. In a weird way, I found it was a bit of a marmalade dropper when Tom Brady comes on in the Kevin Hart one, because the Tom Brady one is the more iconic one. But I do think that people do think the world is sanitized, and and perhaps the reason it maybe has kind of cross-cultural appeal, if I can put that in a kind of politically neutral way, even though I am really talking about politics, is because people think, oh, hang on, anything goes here. This isn't being censored. It's not a sanitised world.
This is very, very unsanitized. But because you are in an American tradition that you know that there are no rules and the gloves are off, culturally they get away with it, which is why I found it really, really interesting, because there's material there that you would not see anywhere else. But everyone has agreed. Everyone on stage has agreed that they're going to do that. Everyone watching signs a contract that is, it's a roast. So we are all in this space where we go, we can literally say any joke we want, and they really do say any joke they want. So I like it, and it's one person, but actually there's a lot against other comedians. Those Riyadh comedians took quite a pasting. Yes, they really
the ones who went to the
really
Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Yes.
But I do have a sort of weakness for those sorts of things, and I think that in the culture when they're sort of super revered, I always loved Ricky Gervais's opening monologues at the Golden Globes, which were so brutal, and they just didn't really know how to deal, and also you never know who's coming for next in that. So just people sitting there having to smile glassily while he's saying, you work for the most disgusting companies in the world, you work for Apple, you work for Amazon, and they all just have to sit there on their artistic night. So I like all those things, but actually what I really like of those things is the craft, is the jokes. There's such few words in a way, and just to kind of make it funny but also incredibly vicious. I think they're great, but I think it's just in our culture, we do it all the time, so maybe we would.
That's exactly it. We're used to doing those jokes. I mean, these go further. It's definitely, I've said before, I'm sure the rudest joke I ever heard on television was aimed at Joan Rivers in her roast. I mean, it's something absolutely extraordinary. But it is, there are, of course, what you can joke about on terrestrial television when, you've got responsibility to an audience is sort of ring-fenced. And this is one of the few occasions where you're outside of that ring fence and everyone agrees. So we just say, look, we're just going to do it for tonight. Do not watch if you are offended at all by anything, for sure. But I thought it was a very interesting watch for lots of reasons.
A question from David Richard. I've read that Jimmy Fallon is going to be producing a new game show based on the Wordle puzzle game and due to air on NBC. The detail that caught my eye was that it will be filmed in Manchester, England. Do they really film American game shows in the UK? What's the attraction?
Yes, they do. We'll get on to what the attraction is. It probably won't shock you, but we will get on to that. Yeah, so Wordle they're doing over here with Jimmy Fallon, which feels weird to me because one of the biggest game shows in the world is Lingo, which is sort of a TV version of Wordle. But whenever we announce any TV show, people go, oh, that's just like that. And you go, no, we thought of that, I promise you. That's just, So I imagine it won't be the same as Lingo. Yeah, so they're filming that in Manchester. It has become a much more common thing recently. There's a couple of reasons. You'll do certain shows, like this Golden Elevator show I'm doing, where every territory in the world comes to the same place. That happens to be in Belgium, just because that's where
that's where the set is.
That's where the production hub is as well. So that's often the thing that happens. But more recently, Americans have started taking their really high volume series to the UK. So recently, I was talking to a brilliant producer who I've worked with for years and years, Michelle Woods, who's just done Trivial Pursuit and Scrabble in the UK. They're both American. I mean, they're absolutely nothing to do with the UK at all. They're both for American networks. Craig Ferguson did Scrabble, and LeVar Burton did Trivial Pursuit. They again, filmed that in Manchester.
Manchester, England.
Manchester, England, yeah. I don't know if you've heard of it. Funnily enough, this always happens, it's probably Salford.
Yeah.
Because that's where the studios are.
Oh, it will be Salford, yeah.
It'll be Salford, but they,
Yeah.
I guess the Americans think that they can say Manchester and people would have heard of it. So they'll film those things in Salford. The reason for doing it, and by the way, this is not a sort of, let's find some Americans who live in Cheshire and bring them in. All of the contestants come from America as well. You get the odd one who's from the UK because that's a bit cheaper, but it is cheaper for the Americans to fly over
members of their public,
every single contestant, every single executive, every single person from the channel, every single member of a production team. It's cheaper to fly them over to the UK, have a UK production team make it. They know that the UK production team will make it. Michelle and her team, they can make these shows. They're brilliant at it. They know it'll be brilliantly made, and they know it'll be cheaper. And it is, it's a union thing. It is just an awful lot cheaper to do it over here. It is cheaper to fly every single person over here, film 4 or 5 a day in Salford, fly everyone back home, and then put it out than it would be to do the whole thing in America.
Unbelievable.
And this is actually quite a recent thing. That thing of having a production hub, like doing Total Wipeout in Buenos Aires, that's been going for years and years and years and years, and that's when you've got a big set. But the set of Scrabble or Trivial Pursuit, or this is, you could literally put that anywhere. But this idea that, you're going to shoot 100 shows and you're going to go over to Salford to do it because it's just going to be cheaper for you in production terms. And in labour cost to do that. That's a sort of new thing. As always, as a great supporter of the UK entertainment industry, I'm all for it. I suspect if I was an American entertainment AP or researcher, I'd be less for it. It's good business for UK production teams, and it's good business for American networks as well. And there'll be more and more and more of it. But it is weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. There it is. That's the international nature of television now. Question for you, Marina, from Jake Magary. Big fan of the pod. That's how do you get your question. In fact, that's all he says. Sorry, big fan of the pod, question mark. Big fan of the pod. Ahead of its May release, the title song for 007 First Light by Lana Del Rey has been released. My question is, what is the likelihood Lana Del Rey thinks she made the song for a Bond film rather than for a game? Okay,
with Lana Del Rey, she's very, very great and smart. Various people who know her tell me she has got a very fascinating mind, so you can be sure that she knew exactly what she was doing. She has submitted a Bond song before, and she wrote a song for Spectre, and they didn't use it as they used that Sam Smith Writings on the Wall, which I think is the only Bond song that ever went to number 1, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I knew you'd know more than me. And Lana Del Rey, she's got that voice, hasn't she? She'd be great.
She's a great Bond voice.
I have a weakness for the Bond. I prefer my Bond themes to be sung by women. There's something about it. I don't know. I don't know why. It is what it is. Yeah. I prefer the Bond to be a man, and I prefer them.
It's so weird that you didn't say that to Paul McCartney. But anyway.
Well, that's not one of the great Bond themes, and I didn't bring it up.
Whoa! You don't think "Live and Let Die" is one of the great Bond themes?
No, I don't. I prefer the ones that are women singing in that kind of slightly kind of moody, noirish, ethereal
Have you
way.
lost your mind?
No, I haven't.
You don't think? Wow! You don't think "Live and Let Die" is one of the great Bond themes?
It's a very, very good Bond theme, but I prefer. If you think I think it's as good as Skyfall, don't be stupid.
I like Skyfall.
Skyfall is brilliant. Skyfall is everything about the movie is brilliant.
Yeah.
Everything about it, the tone of the movie, the whole sort of story of what's happening, and Adele is so perfect. Yeah.
3 best Bond themes are, in my opinion, Skyfall, of course, Live and Let Die, and Nobody Does It Better.
I knew you were going to say Nobody Does It Better. You're correct on Skyfall, and
I don't say like Diamonds Are Forever or something. Don't go obvious.
No, I'm going to... Sheena Easton, All Time High?
No, that was Rita Coolidge.
Rita Coolidge, All Time High, sorry. All Time High is great, but it's too up. Okay, just leave it with me. I'll come back at the end of the episode.
Eilish?
No. I love it, but no.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry, can we get back to Lana Del Rey for just a minute?
Well, no, because my mind has slightly been blown by this anti-Paul McCartney rant.
Right.
He's a friend of ours. He's a friend of the pod.
It's not an anti-Paul McCartney rant.
Isn't
I just prefer...
Is it pro-Paul McCartney?
I just prefer when women sing them.
Okay.
For some reason.
Understandable. It's James Bond, not Jane Bond, love. You know what I mean?
Okay, so this Lana Del Rey one, who I think this one that she's done for the game is written by David Arnold, who's the original composer for Bond. He scored, I think...
Not the original composer for Bond.
No, but
yes.
he's an original composer. And I think he scored 4 or 5 films. And they're really good people are involved with all these games now. It's like extraordinary. What do we know that has happened? It has been acquired by Amazon fully. They have control. We know they're going to be building it out into a universe. I would say that doing that song and the song is great, by the way, if you listen to the song. It's called First Light as well, and it's really good if you listen to it. But again, this can be a springboard. She doesn't really need to get in with them because she's already done things for them. But you can definitely see Lana Del Rey doing a Bond track at some point. And also, there will be more Bond tracks, as you can see. They're going to, obviously, we're not going to be just seeing one film every however long. There's going to be many different parts of this universe.
Spin-offs,
There's going to be series, there'll be TV stuff, there'll be all sorts of things. And, that's not to say that they're going to completely overflog it and over-farm it and whatever. I'm not suggesting that. I know a lot of people worry about that. They haven't done it so far. We'll see. But there will be many more opportunities. And I 100% think her vocal is very suited to it.
And also, you'd imagine the house style would be they would have original songs even for the spin-offs because
they'll have
something that keeps.
Of course,
keeps
it's one of the,
together.
and it's part of the whole. It's part of the furniture of who they are and how they do it and all of that. So yes.
So the good news is Lana Del Rey knows what she's done and she knows what she's doing.
But what about? Oh, hang on. What about Gladys Knight?
Yeah. What about
her? I agree with you. It's all-time high.
No, I didn't say all-time high.
What did I say? I said A Spy Who Loved Me. Nobody Does It Better. Nobody Does It Better is an absolute, and it's also an absolute classic Carly Simon song.
Yeah, agreed.
Skyfall, without any question.
Agreed. We need a terrible choice for number 3.
Are you not just going with something like License to Kill?
Me?
No. Are you not just going with Gladys Knight, the 2-time singing License to Kill? No.
I don't think so. I think that Chris Cornell and Morton Harkett would like a word.
Okay.
If you had to have a man in there.
It would be there. Yeah, it would be there. Oh, hang on. What about, Louis Armstrong?
Yeah, that wasn't an official, that was like an outro one. Yeah.
Okay. It's not Duran Duran, let's face it.
Okay. That's fair enough. We can agree on some things.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's just put it to a vote. What is
top 3 of our listeners?
Top 3 of our listeners.
We will send it out to our members.
Okay, members, you'll be able to reply to that. We'll email you, and then you can vote on your top 3. So that will actually be quite interesting.
Yeah,
I think I'm forgetting things in the moment. I'm forgetting songs.
Of course you are. But we also there's a lot of work for our listeners to do because on Tuesday's episode they have to answer the question of have you heard of a phenotype or have you heard of Big Break? That's
not what the question is. What you're doing, that's a form of false polling. It just depends entirely how you answer the question. Anyway, let's go to a break now. This episode is brought to you by Lloyds. Now, I love it when characters are part of a club. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Richard?
The Thursday Murder Club in some ways reminds me of the A-Team.
I would now like to map each of those characters onto the A-Team and feel I probably could. Elizabeth is Hannibal and it's not even close.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Ron is Howling Mad Murdoch.
Well, there are definite perks to being in a club. Just ask the members of Club Lloyds. Because with Club Lloyds, you can bank on Lloyds to give you more wherever you are.
If you join Club Lloyds, there's all sorts of benefits you can choose between. There's, for example, 6 free cinema tickets.
They've got an annual coffee club and gourmet society membership, which would be mine.
And also something that the Thursday Murder Club would enjoy very, very much indeed.
Yes.
To top it all off, you have fee-free spending abroad, which means wherever you are, you won't be charged by Lloyds to use your debit card when you're travelling. Now, joining this club costs £5 per month, but that is refunded in any month that you pay £2,000 into your account.
Now, that is a club that's worth being part of. Check out Club Lloyds today. You'll need to be a UK resident and aged 18 or over to apply. Welcome back, everybody.
Don't pretend we haven't been arguing through the adverts.
Welcome back, everybody. Helen Smith has got a question.
Save us, Helen.
My husband and I love the Great British Menu, she says, but we're baffled by judging day. How long does it take to film and how do the judges manage to taste so many dishes in a single day? 8 mains or desserts in one day seems almost impossible.
I love that question, Helen. Thank you. Because it is. There's a lot going on in Great British Menu. By the way, that's very quietly been built into such an important franchise for the BBC. It's incredibly impressive what they've done. So I asked Sarah Eglin, who's the executive producer of Great British Menu, Helen, and I'm just going to read out what she said verbatim because I love it when producers tell you about how they put their shows together. Sarah, thanks you for your question, Helen. She says, it takes a whole day to film each episode with 4 chefs cooking in the morning and 4 chefs cooking in the afternoon. Tom Kerridge actually goes to a nearby gym and has time to do a full workout and shower before returning.
Wow.
So in the middle of the day. That's his secret to making more space for the calories. Our food is served hot, which is not always the case on these shows. So once the chefs say the food is ready, it takes under a minute for the food to leave the kitchen and arrive with the judges. One of the challenges for the crew is filming Tom's plate before he finishes eating, as he is an extraordinarily fast eater. No judge has to finish their plate, but most plates return to the pot wash empty. We have a separate serving, which is used for filming the graphic shot of the dish, and the crew take it in turns to eat this afterwards. So that is quite often to have a lovely cutaway of the dish, and they'll do a lovely shot of that. That will be done like Race Across the World, when the crew go back to the route and do lovely GVs and everything. Although one time Andy Oliver accidentally ate the remaining pieces of a beautiful sharing loaf before it had been filmed. Andy. During dessert finals, we have cheese and biscuits on standby to help with all the sugar. And this is the one lunch break where the judges might join the crew for lunch to get more savoury food into their system. I could do dessert day I wouldn't need a single bit of non-sugar.
You've trained yourself.
Yeah, I really have.
You're a professional.
That's that I could do, Sarah, if you're ever looking for anyone. The mains final, I love this. The mains final is not for the faint-hearted.
Hi.
That's Marina's up for that. Yeah. In fact, look, here's a friend of yours is on it. I was momentarily worried we might kill national treasure Sir Stephen Frears, who judged 8 main courses with us. None of the chefs buy their ingredients. They submit the recipes in advance, and our home economics team supplies all the food within our budget. Some chefs do use their own money on presentation props, but spending a fortune is discouraged, as if that chef wins, we won't be able to replicate it at the banquet finale episode when the production supplies all the presentation for 80 plus guests. The Great British Menu moved production to the Midlands over 7 years ago, so we rely on persuading famous people to come to Stratford-upon-Avon for the whole day. I didn't know it was in Stratford-upon-Avon.
I didn't either.
I love Stratford-upon-Avon.
Yes, I know you do.
Yeah.
You'll be visiting relatively soon, I believe.
Yes, we're going to see Mark Gatiss' play.
I really want to see that.
Yes. Look. Anyway, listen. That's absolutely by the by. We're talking about Great British Menu, and our studio, Sarah says, is the old Teletubby studio. I still remember Peter Hook, the bassist from New Order, being a fantastic and hilariously entertaining guest judge during the music-themed year for dessert finals some years ago. Dessert finals. I mean, I would just watch that. He explained he'd be able to eat every last crumb of his 8 desserts, as sugar was now his acceptable drug of choice. But he was done for speeding on the way back home on the M6, and it might have had something to do with all that sugar. That is fantastic, Sarah. Thank you so much
brilliant.
for those. She sort of answered about 4 different questions there, but I loved all of them. Marina, question for you from Tasha. Tasha asks, when 2 high-profile celebrities start dating, do their respective managers or agents team up to agree on how and when they'll go public with their relationship? I'm thinking of Kim Kardashian and Lewis Hamilton. Is Insta official now old hat?
Okay, that's interesting. First of all, I mean, those two, I don't think he would think about things like that in quite the same way. She would think absolutely with a team about almost how everything she does, but that's just perhaps the nature of the person. In the old days, it would be quite simple. You'd be photographed together. Maybe then people started doing joint magazine features about their love paid for. Yeah. The Beckhams had a press conference to announce their engagement. It's really weird watching that Take That documentary that was recently on Netflix, which is really good. They just did press conferences for everything. And you suddenly thought, I forgot that actually, rather than having a way that they could instantly do something and it could look really good online and all of this, they would sit at a sort of long table with a tablecloth on it. Yeah. And it didn't matter whether you were engaged or Robbie was, had left the band or whatever it was done in this one way.
In a hall.
Yeah, in a hall. It's really weird looking back at it. It suddenly seems such a period piece, even though it was kind of recent. So yes, there is a whole vocabulary for all of this, as you know, like the soft launch. Now, the soft launch
of a relationship.
Yeah. The soft launch, the sort of breadcrumb reveals. So you might see someone's shadow in a picture or crop photos or, that have been quite obvious, so that you'll say, oh my God, but who's been cropped out of this picture of Paul Mescal, as an example? There's a whole relationship theatre to Instagram, isn't there? And the way that people talk about it, you see them using these terms in real life. I remember Taylor Swift talking about people saying, oh, how ridiculous that people would think we were hard launching our relationship. But I was like, this vocabulary has just become completely normal now. Again, we talk about this all the time, but it's like the whole decoding culture, the kind of open source intelligence thing where your life is a curated public narrative, it does increase engagement. So you can see why Kim Kardashian would really string out the amount of time before she did something formal. So, and it also shows just, I think, how much the platforms have inserted themselves into all of our interactions. Modern celebrities can treat these moments as branding events and as fashion editorial moments. I wouldn't be surprised if her and Lewis Hamilton definitely do something together that
How do you think
also
that
works
works inside a relationship? Like if you're two single people and you start going, and you've had a date, and then you go, that film you were talking about, it's on next week. Do you fancy going to see it? And you have another date, and then you kind of go, we're sort of hanging out a bit more, and you kind of think, maybe we're going out with each other. But, how does that physically work? Then you go, when you talk to my manager about that.
I think they talk all the time about that they spend a long time trying not to be photographed when they don't particularly want to at the start of things, for definite, because that's just
I guess if they're both
hassle
famous,
and nobody wants.
And if they're both famous, they both know.
Yes,
okay.
They both know, and then they, often they're very successful in keeping it completely away. I mean, but eventually, and in the old days, people used to tip people off.
Yeah.
So that they would get, the first photos would not be high on the front of OK magazine, we're going out with each other. It would be paparazzi pictures. Yeah. But every now and then it is a bolt from the blue. Like we had to do a whole item on it when it happened because it was so funny. Liz Hurley and Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, that was great.
Every now and then you're like, excuse me, what?
Still going as well, right?
Yeah. That was the everything launch all at once. All the launches all at once. Yeah. And it's hard to explain to like Gen Z or Gen A that this didn't used to happen. And as I say, the platforms are so inserted in life that even Brooklyn Beckham, who's constantly talking about wanting privacy and to be away from it, posts incredibly frequent updates and pictures of his relationship all the time.
Have you seen that amazing, again, I'm going off on a tangent, but the brilliant comedian Al Green on Instagram this week has launched his character who's called Jackson Benson, and he's sort of pretending to do his Who Am I thing for Vanity Fair, and it's so funny, but it's very, very Beckham adjacent, but he's also got an indie rock band called Jackson Benson and the Boners, and it's very, very
I'm
funny.
obsessed with Cruz Beckham and the Breakers. I just want to know who's in the Breakers.
Yeah,
they look like they're 30-year-old guys. It was just this. I just any information on the Breakers.
Yeah.
I want to know more about the Breakers. But anyway, so basically, just to sort of summarise, relationships used to be revealed by the tabloids. Now they are serialised by the participants themselves. Basically. So there might be, first thing might happen, there might be rumours. Then you might have grainy accidental sightings or people in the back of other people's pictures who tipped them off or who really didn't control it on purpose. Then there's all the sort of social media breadcrumbs. But this is a form of fan engagement.
Yeah.
And even if they don't say it out loud,
who's liking what,
this is about
commenting.
being always, this is about being always on. If you're a female, pop star, and you don't have to release something. You're just sort of always there. Things are happening. There are plot lines. There's, the series is continuing.
Yeah. But you used to be able to see it on Twitter, didn't you? When you'd see couples sort of forming to go, he comments a lot on, now she's commenting on his. Do you think, that's nice?
Yes.
But non-celebrities.
Yes,
but
now it's a much more. But when they're both big stars, this is how. And then I think you have the soft launch, then the hard launch, then the joint branding. As I say, I think Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian will definitely you'll see them together for Moncler or something like that, and they'll do an ad campaign probably at some point. Who knows? Maybe, or they'll do maybe not an ad. They won't do an ad campaign, but they'll do something perhaps together. And then when it all goes wrong, the silent unfollow.
Oh, no.
Or the breakup statement. And that, this is the new theatre of it all. And if you look at someone like the Biebers, Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber, it's almost has all been done via their Instagrams. They are married, they have a child. She had about 8 products in her Rhodes skin colour. They launched with 8 products. It became $1 billion brand. They sometimes do things together. He's had an IRL appearance at Coachella, and it's gone absolutely massive. But really, the entire thing has sort of been sustained off, is their relationship working out? Is it not? Or almost entirely a digital fabrication, a digital soap opera. I assume so. Okay. And then he's had this thing, and then he managed to sell absolutely masses of units of his various products at the time. And that is a kind of quite a sort of classic template now, which, as I say, would have seemed completely nuts a few years ago.
Imagine Jane Austen writing a novel about it. I would read that. That'd be amazing.
Well, lots of things like letters. It's like
exactly.
epistolary.
But that's what I was thinking.
Epistolary novels.
She would decode that stuff in a heartbeat.
What's Dangerous Liaisons? If the book, if not, an epistolary novel about people scheming and plotting and trying to influence each other.
Reader, I unfollowed him.
Yeah.
That's us done, I think. Please, if you have questions for Tom Hanks, do send them in to the Wrestlers Entertainment at goalhanger.com. As you know, it's fun when you get your questions asked to these. It's a really lovely thing. So if you have anything you've always wanted to ask Tom Hanks that you haven't heard him be asked before, then please do. You always come up with the goods, so thank you for that. Your wonderful bonus episode with James Kangasorian came out yesterday about trad wives. I recommend everyone listens to that. The first episode of that, there'll be bonus episodes from here on in, but the first one is free for everyone. Strongly recommend that.
He is mega interesting, and I am interested.
Yeah, how is that, sitting across from someone that you find interesting?
I never don't sit next to someone someone I find interesting.
Okay.
But it was really, but this
is actually really interesting.
It was different because he was able to poll people on. I know you wanted to get some polling always done live. Earlier this week, you wanted to get polling done live in the episode. He would have been able to do that.
Yeah, God, he sounds amazing. Wow.
Anyway, listen to it. It's really interesting on Tradwives and Tradwife content.
Yeah, listen to that. Send in your questions for Tom Hanks, and otherwise we will see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.